Have you ever felt like life was moving too fast? Like everything around you was spinning out of control, and no matter how hard you tried, you couldn't keep up? Maybe you've been overwhelmed with stress, burdened by problems, or just exhausted from trying to hold everything together. And in those moments, you wonder, where is God in all of this? I've been there. We all have. And that's why Psalm 46 holds one of the most powerful verses in the entire Bible. A verse that doesn't just speak, it commands. A verse that doesn't just comfort, it changes you if you truly understand it. It's a verse you've probably heard before. Be still and know that I am God. At first glance, it sounds simple, but the more I studied it, the more I realized. It's not just about being quiet. It's not just about pausing for a moment. It's about surrendering. It's about learning to let go of control and fully trust God, even when everything around you feels chaotic. And here's what I discovered. This one verse has the power to transform your entire life. Because if we're honest, most of us don't know how to be still. We live in a world that tells us we have to do more, hustle harder, and figure everything out on our own. We think that if we're not constantly moving, constantly working, or constantly fixing things, everything will fall apart. But God is saying, stop, be still, let me be God. That's not easy to do, especially when we're faced with uncertainty, when we don't see a way forward, when life doesn't make sense. Our instinct is to panic, to worry, to take matters into our own hands. But God is calling us to something radically different, trusting Him completely. And here's the hard truth. You can't trust God and try to control everything at the same time. I had to learn that the hard way. I used to believe that if I just worked harder, prayed more, and pushed through, I could make everything fall into place. But all that did was leave me exhausted, frustrated, and full of anxiety. It wasn't until I truly let go, until I fully surrendered, that I understood what this verse really meant. Be still isn't just about sitting in silence. It's about quieting the noise inside of you. It's about choosing faith over fear, choosing peace over panic, choosing to trust that God is working even when you can't see it. And here's the part that changed everything for me. That verse doesn't just say, be still. It says, be still and know that I am God. Think about that. God isn't asking us to be still for no reason. He's saying, be still because I am in control. Be still because I have a plan. Be still because I am bigger than your problems, bigger than your fears, bigger than anything you are facing right now. And once I started living like that, truly believing that God was in control, everything changed. I stopped feeling like I had to figure everything out. I stopped letting worry consume me. I stopped carrying burdens I was never meant to carry. Because when you truly know that He is God, you realize you don't have to be. So let me ask you, what are you holding on to right now? What is that one thing you can't seem to let go of? Maybe it's a fear about the future. Maybe it's stress about your job, your family, or your finances. Maybe it's a situation that feels completely out of control. Whatever it is, I want to challenge you to do something. Take a deep breath and let it go. Trust that God has already gone ahead of you. Trust that He is already making a way. Trust that His plan is greater than anything you could ever imagine. Because the moment you truly surrender, the moment you learn to be still and know, is the moment everything changes. Now, let's take this even deeper. We've talked about how be still and know that I am God is not just about stopping, it's about surrendering. But here's what I realized. It's also a battle strategy. Yes, you heard that right. God is giving us a strategy for how to fight life's toughest battles. And the strategy is this: stop fighting in your own strength and let God fight for you. Let's look at the full context of Psalm 46. It's a psalm written in the middle of chaos. The earth is shaking, nations are raging, everything seems to be falling apart. And right in the middle of all that, God says, be still. Now, if we're honest, that doesn't make sense to us. When we're in trouble, our instinct is to do something. If there's a crisis, we rush to fix it. If there's a problem, we strategize. If we're in danger, we defend ourselves. But God is saying, no, stop. Let me handle this. Think about the Israelites standing at the edge of the Red Sea. Pharaoh's army was behind them, ready to kill them. The sea was in front of them, and there was no way out. They started panicking, crying out in fear. But what did Moses say? "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." Exodus 14:14. And what happened? God parted the sea. He made a way where there was no way. And he did it all while the Israelites stood still and trusted him. This is what God is calling you to do. Right now, you might be fighting battles in your mind. You might be trying to fix things that are beyond your control. You might be carrying stress, anxiety, and fear, because you think it's up to you to figure it all out. But what if I told you that the most powerful thing you can do is stop fighting? Not because you're giving up, but because you're giving it to God. Because here's the truth. The battle is never yours to fight in the first place. It belongs to God. And when you try to fight in your own strength, you will always end up exhausted. But when you hand it over to Him, you will see Him move in ways you never imagined. So let me ask you, what battle are you fighting right now? Is it a battle in your mind? A battle with fear, stress, or insecurity? Is it a battle in your family? A broken relationship? A painful situation? Is it a battle in your career? Feeling stuck, uncertain, or lost? Whatever it is, you don't have to fight it alone. God is standing there saying, "Be still, let me fight for you." And I know what you're thinking, but what if nothing happens? What if I trust God and I don't see a way forward? This is where faith comes in. You see, being still isn't just about stopping. It's about waiting in expectation. It's about standing firm in the belief that God is moving, even when you don't see it yet. Isaiah 40:31 says, "Those who wait upon the Lord will renew their strength, not those who stress, not those who try to control everything, not those who panic and overthink. Those who wait on the Lord." That's the kind of faith that moves mountains. That's the kind of trust that unlocks miracles. That's the kind of surrender that brings true peace. Because here's what I've learned. When you finally stop fighting, when you finally let go and trust God, that's when you see Him do the impossible. Now let's make this real. We've talked about letting go, about trusting that God is fighting for you. But let's be honest. How do you actually do that? Because it's one thing to say, "Be still." It's another thing to actually live it when your mind is racing, your heart is heavy, and your world feels unstable. Here's what I've learned. Being still is a daily choice. It's not a one-time thing where you just decide, "Okay, I trust God," and suddenly all your worries disappear. No, it's something you have to practice every single day. And here's how. First, you have to replace panic with prayer. Every time your mind starts spiraling, every time you catch yourself overthinking, stressing, or trying to control the outcome, stop. Take a deep breath and turn to prayer instead. Because here's the truth. Worry and trust cannot exist in the same space. You're either feeding one or feeding the other. And the more you pray, the more you shift your focus away from the problem and onto the one who holds the solution. Philippians 4:6-7 says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." Notice the promise there. It doesn't say, God will fix everything immediately. It says, the peace of God will guard your heart. In other words, the first thing God gives you isn't always an answer. It's peace. And let me tell you that peace is everything. The second thing, you have to surrender. Not just once, but over and over again. Because if you're anything like me, you'll give something to God in prayer. And then 5 minutes later, you'll take it right back. You'll say, "God, I trust you." But then you'll go back to stressing and overanalyzing every detail. Surrender means leaving it in His hands, even when it's hard. Even when you don't have all the answers. Even when the waiting gets uncomfortable. It's saying, "God, I don't understand this, but I trust you anyway." And finally, you have to remind yourself who God is. Because at the end of the day, this is the real question. Do you believe that God is who He says He is? Do you believe that He is your protector? Do you believe that He is your provider? Do you believe that He is in control, even when life feels chaotic? Psalm 46:10 doesn't just say, "Be still." It says, "Be still and know that I am God." And that's the key. It's the knowing. Because if you truly know that He is God, then you don't have to panic. If you truly know that He is in control, then you don't have to worry. If you truly know that He is good, then you don't have to fear the unknown. So let me ask you, do you know? Do you know deep in your heart that God is with you? That He is for you? That He is working things out, even when you can't see it yet? Because if you do, then today is the day to stop carrying things that were never meant for you. Today is the day to release your fears, your burdens, and your anxieties into the hands of the one who holds the universe. And now, I want to hear from you. What is the battle you've been fighting? What is the thing you need to surrender to God today? Drop a comment below and let's talk about it. Because you're not alone in this. We are in this together. And if this message spoke to you, if it reminded you of someone who needs to hear this, share it with them. Because sometimes, the greatest gift we can give someone is the reminder that they don't have to fight alone. Let's walk in faith together. Let's be still and let God be God.